Welcome to the Women of Advent podcast. We're on day 18 today, and we're focusing on love through faithfulness, using Anna as a model of steadfast love for God's people. And so the question we're using today, and I hope you engage with us too, is how can faithfulness to our calling be an act of love for God and for others? So there's one way for me, and thanks for letting me go first, is that living into my own calling and faithfully showing up just exactly who I am, who God made me to be, helps to demonstrate God's faithfulness to others. And it may help others to know their own belovedness and to see Anna's life and call. They weren't exactly the same as everyone around her. She was married for a short period of time, but then spent 80 years in the temple?
Decades in the temple.
Decades in the temple, being there, awaiting the Messiah. And her devotion and faithfulness were good. They are a reflection of who God is, even as they might have pushed against some of the expectations maybe her family had hoped for her, or she might have even hoped for herself, that it's a little different, and her differentness is a whole part of the complexity of who God is, which is pretty neat to me.
Yeah. Sometimes we have a plan, and as we all know, I think God has a different plan, and it's living into that and getting to see Anna live into that and then be able to proclaim, like, I've seen the Messiah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, waiting decades. I can't imagine waiting decades.
Yeah. I'm not great at waiting. So the idea of waiting decades and decades for something to come to fruition and then being just as joyful and not irritable about why did this
finally
take so long. But instead being like, it's happening. That level of joy is really neat to see.
Totally. I think when we embrace like our unique gifts and skills and roles that God's given us, we honor the purpose that he's woven into our lives. When we live out our calling, it's kind of a response in gratitude to everything that he's given us. It's like, thank you, God, for entrusting me with this work. And I love what you said about, like bringing your authentic self to what you're doing, because when we bring our whole selves to the calling that we received, it's even further like a deep love for God. It's that gratitude that I was talking about earlier.
I can only imagine the joy that Anna must have been feeling too, because praying and fasting like that was who she was called to be. Mm-hmm. And she lived into that, and then she saw the result of her steadfast love.
Yeah.
And so how do we stick with it? How do we use this as a model? I think Anna's a beautiful model of that.
Yeah. That's a really good segue into our rhythm, because it's to identify one way that you can show steadfast love to someone in your life today.